Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. Generally speaking, I don't much care for Deadpool. Specifically speaking, I hate his bleeping guts. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin.
Welcome to issue number 305 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's episode, we're going to cover issue 2 of Deadpool Wolverine WW3. Not World War III, but WW3. Then we're going to jump into our weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth, and we talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old. We're going to talk about them there. And then we're going to jump into the news and do all of the July catalogs for products coming out in September and beyond. So we'll trek through Marvel, DC, and the giant catalog of the independent publishers and the merchandise, the apparel, the collectibles, and all that fun stuff. And then once again, we will do a special welcome back to the Crimson Cowl Comic Club to writer, artist, creator Kevin Wolf. How's it going, Kevin?
Hi, good. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll be touching base with you later for plugs and things that you've been doing, but you're joining us once again for the club. And in order to do that, we got to jump over to the club discussion. Welcome to the club discussion. We're going to cover issue number 2 of Deadpool Wolverine WW3, Survival of the Fittest. Wolverine and Deadpool caught in a snowy wasteland with no hope of survival except each other. If they can fight off the enhanced forces of those who watch, only one battle remains, Logan versus Wade Wilson. And it can only end in death. You'll have to read it to believe it. And we did read it. That's why we're going to talk about it here. This comic was done by Joe Kelly, Adam Kubert, Frank Martin, and VC's Joe Sabino. So this is I believe, a 3-issue miniseries. We have a Deadpool Wolverine movie coming out. It might be out by the time this episode reaches the air, but it was a great time for Marvel to up the Deadpool and Wolverine content, both individually as well as collectively in this miniseries. So it was a good time to check it out for the club. We do have an action-packed show here, so we're going to just dive right into our reactions for issue number 2. Kirby, do you want to kick us off on your thoughts for issue number 2?
Sure, since you want a complaint right off the bat.
Yeah,
issue number 2. Again, we're going sideways to start out our storyline. If you are a creator and you look at this panel will fit the opposite direction. Because there's a big black area here, a big black area here. You move the word boxes in here, and then I could read it upright. It's like, I'm sorry. That just drives me nuts. I don't know why they got to start these out with that each time and then do the multi-panel thing with all these in the center and stuff. It's like, give me a nice big 2-page centerfold instead of a bunch of little squares that are sideways. I don't know. But other than that, I enjoy this story. My question is Wolverine meat gamey? Is it human? Is it animal? I mean, he grew up with wolves. I mean, he could have animal in his blood in a way, shape, or form. But yeah, that cracked me up. We've seen that part going on. But yeah, seeing this with the Deadpool, I'm still kind of confused. Are we in a video game or is it actually Deadpool and Wolverine? It's like he loses an arm and then he digitally gets a new one back, kind of. It's like, so that was I'm kind of lost where Deadpool's at. I mean, his body wise, he feels more like he's in a game than actually out in humanity, but yet you got Wolverine fighting with him and stuff, so that's a little confusing. But yeah, this was interesting seeing what's up, learning a little bit more about why Deadpool did what he did, and now this long trek. It's like their whole atmosphere that they're in. They aren't finding animals out in the woods. They've been hiking for months, and it's like, okay, so that's why I keep thinking, are they stuck in some type of virtual world or is it a real world? But other than that, I enjoyed it. I definitely want to know more about the Wolverine meet.
We didn't hear thoughts on this series when we talked about issue number 1 with Eric. So let's jump over to Eric. Your thoughts on how these 2 issues are going for you?
I'm very confused right now with what Deadpool did. I mean, in number 2, there's just one word balloon which throws me for a loop. It's where Deadpool says, "I prefer the quiet." That's not Deadpool.
Doesn't have the voices in his head.
I mean, also, I've noticed there are no fourth wall breaks either. So, did that remove his mutant ability of self-awareness that he's a comic book character? I'm just... It really just seems more like it's, I don't know. He's supposedly Deadpool, but everything that makes Deadpool Deadpool has been removed. So when I see this guy get hurt, I'm like, normally I see Deadpool get hurt, I laugh. But in this case, it's just, okay, so guys, you getting hurt, big deal, nah.
Well, he keeps mentioning that it's the 3rd version of Deadpool. I don't know where the 2nd version was. I didn't see that or anything. But it's like, didn't this guy, when he took Deadpool in, didn't he reactivate the cancer and stuff? And then,
well, it said what they did is not that it reactivated, because the cancer has always been there. It's just the cancer has been made a lot more virulent, so it's going to end up killing him.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So his healing factor, it's not fully gone, but yet it's partially gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's getting harder for the healing factor to, overcompensate for it. Although I do have to ask, like in the very last page where we're not going to give out any spoilers, where Wolverine says, "Wade," are we thinking that maybe that other thing there is Wade Wilson too?
Yeah, for me, a lot of it's been pretty confusing. I'm really loving the art throughout and really digging just the, all of the action and just it feels like a good Wolverine book, overall. Just having Adam Kubert on there and doing his thing. But yeah, story wise, I'm more on the confused side on kind of what's unfolding, and it might be one of those things that I may enjoy more after the next issue and kind of revisit it as a whole or something. But Kevin Wolf, any thoughts on issue number 2?
Yeah, I heard that Kubert tweeted or put out a note encouraging fans to, it'll all make sense. Keep reading.
Sure.
Well, I didn't read the exact words of that tweet, but yeah, I have a lot of questions, but they're sort of good questions in the sense that I'm interested in what's happening in the story and sort of trying to make sense of it all. And I really appreciated the sort of introspective part of Wade, whatever you want to call him, or Deadpool. I'm not sure what to call him, where they're sitting around the campfire and he's sad about who he used to be and who he wants to become. They keep repeating this phrase, 3rd time's a charm. So that makes you think that there were other versions. That image right there with the face, I wondered why, because Deadpool has healing factor, or the healing factor, right? Why his face doesn't heal. Does anyone? I don't know the character all that well.
Yeah, so that's something that has been throughout where his face has always been that zombified state. So I don't know if there's something that's been explained in the past on why his face doesn't get healed, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's other little because I look for nuances in the art, and I saw, I think at the beginning of the book, the red-haired guy that's being experimented upon, he has like these tribal tattoos, and then the Joker daughter looking character.
Oh, sure.
She has sort of tribal tattoos on her hand. And then the monster creature at the end, I was wondering whether it's the guy at the very beginning of the story or whether it's the girl, but I don't think it's the girl because there's a silhouette of her as the creature's running. And then I looked for those tribal tattoos on that monster just to see if there's any connection. There wasn't any tribal tattoos, but yeah, there's little details throughout this comic where they're like on Deadpool's belt, there's the triangle with the eye. And then on the little, oh, what's the word for these hovercraft? I'm blanking on it. That the watchers are using to watch it all. The
little aerial drones.
The drones. Yeah, they have, one of them has the green triangle.
Oh, really?
That's on Deadpool's belt. But then the monster at the end doesn't have that symbol on it, nor does the creation from the first comic book, the guy that they chop up, he doesn't have that triangle on his belt. So there's little details. I'm trying to find a pattern and put it all together.
What I assume that I think you're right with the monster being the guy from the beginning.
Okay.
Because when you see him get mad and he shoots out that pink ray from his hand, when you see the monster has that pinkness throughout his mouth and stuff, and when he's fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I just automatically assumed that's who the monster was.
Yeah, the color palette, the purple pink is there at the beginning.
And those three hang out together, the monster, the girl, and the digital guy.
Yeah.
Whoever the heck he is.
Yeah, I'm a very simple reader, so while I don't notice a lot of the little details and stuff that you guys had pointed out, I'm just like, oh, look, there's this many pages, and it's colorful, and it has characters I like, but it's always good to hear, some of these little details, because when I eventually do read it again as a whole after, the third issue and stuff, and things like that, I'll keep my eye out for. So it's interesting.
And one other thing you're asking, like with Deadpool, his face got totally messed up worse and stuff. But if you see this panel right here, where he's all nastified, he mentions about how the cancer was supercharged 10,000 times more virulent, and then Delta didn't do anything to bother trying to mess with the healing part in the face. So I'm guessing that's why he wears that helmet. The rest of his body has a healing factor, but the cancer on his face doesn't for some reason. I don't know why they'd be separately connected, but once he took that mask off and his face was basically melting, I'm like, something's up.
There was two other little word details I picked up on. There is a German in there. I don't know if you guys picked up on it. So there's a bitteschön. Bitteschön is usually when somebody says thank you, you respond to that thanks with a bitteschön, almost like a you're welcome. And it sort of doesn't fit in that scene unless she's being really snotty to the guy that tells her to do something, and then she's like bitteschön. He didn't say thank you or anything, so it was, to me, it was a little strange use of that phrase. And then there was, I think, a phrase called like dipsy duos or dipsity duo, and I looked up what that means to try and understand, because she refers to Deadpool and Wolverine as dipsy duos. And it sort of doesn't make much sense even after I looked it up, but there's various interpretations of what that can mean. Like if you throw a pitch that has a curve in it, you can call it a dipsy duo, or anyways, there's some meaning there. I just, even trying to find out, I couldn't figure it out. So
yeah, once again, things that I would never look into and even consider, just because it's always good to hear those little things. So
it's like the reason I keep coming back, kept thinking about this being some type of VR type setup is it's like our Deadpool and Wolverine locked in a VR unit, because even at one point Deadpool says my healing factor distilled from your healing factor as he's talking to Wolverine. So it's like Did they take some of Wolverine's healing factor and try and mix it into Deadpool's? I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rely on the tweet that Kevin Wolf talked about with Adam Kuber talking about. It'll make sense, but you know, I'll go back to even things like before Watchmen, when we talked about that years ago on the Comic Club, that anytime that, you know, while I wasn't necessarily remembering much issue to issue, and it was a very complex story, I always had good things to say about the art, just saying, hey, it's a great looking book. It's worth my money just by looking at it. So I just look forward to, you know, getting more context of the story once it's all read, and then kind of go back and revisit it. Any other closing thoughts that anybody needed to say yet on it?
I have one more. I don't know if Katie read it or not, but no. Okay. There seems to be a digital portal with the girl's mouth where she somehow consumes and then spits them out into this other world. And that may play into this sort of video game-ish element.
Now, does it consume and spit them out, or is she like that one girl that swears and her words basically affect you? So if she screams, the words hit you, kind of like the girl from Doom Patrol also, when she gets mad and her curse words affect you and cut you up and do things to you. That's what I was thinking with her words.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think she actually consumes them, but I think they go into her mouth and then she spits it, and there's a scene where it's like a tube,
yeah,
and they're flying through the air, and he breaks his. I don't want to spoil it, but
we are in spoiler territory. But I just found that.
There it is. Yeah,
we'll show it off. So, yeah, at the beginning of the recorded versions, there is a warning that says, you know, spoilers can happen. So
okay.
So everyone's.
And we also don't really talk about the people in the background either. And all the ones that are wearing these silver glasses or silver face shields, silver helmets, I'm assuming they're all computerized virtual face wear that they're wearing, and that's how they're watching everything that's going on through the drones. And that's why they're allowing the drones to follow Wolverine and Deadpool, because the old school Wolverine and Deadpool would have sliced those drones up instantly right away. They wouldn't let them follow them around. I never understood that, why they're just letting them hang out by them. It's like, do you really want these people watching what you're doing? It's like, I don't know.
A part of it reminded me, is it the film Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey? Is that the one where there are people watching him live, or there's some game show element?
Oh,
I don't know if Truman Show, that's it. Yeah.
That's yep.
Had a bit of that feel going on too. So
yep.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get some more answers as we cover issue number 3 when it's out. That was
this is 6 issues now. Was it originally 5?
I thought it was only 3, so I don't know.
Or okay, it might be a different comic I'm thinking of. Might be Kid Fury.
Okay, yeah, I think it was 3, but I am not positive on it, so I may just be thinking of that because of the.
You're right.
But yeah, so that'll do it for that issue. To advertise upcoming club discussions, the one shot for Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime. That issue is out, so on our next recorded show, we will plan to talk about that. And then also, to stay in the Disney Duck family, what if Donald Duck became Wolverine? That is another one shot we'll be talking about. And as we go through the catalogs later, there just might be another Donald Duck comic one shot. So it might just be something being like, all right, I think we'll just do all of them. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. And we can't get to it until we do the weekly reviews. Let's jump over there. Welcome to the weekly reviews. I'm going to kick it off first with the Book 1 collection of issues 1 through 4 of BlueScar the Barbarian. Go on an adventure with BlueScar the Barbarian and his loyal animal friend Trax, as BlueScar acquires a magical sword that he thought was just a toy. Though there's somebody who wants that sword as he continues to rule the galaxy, the mighty Crimson. This series is done by Jamie Cosley, Tyler Cosley, and Stephen Jenkins. And this is a collection I got very recently. BlueScar the Barbarian has been in production for a last handful of years. It's been in single issue format. You saw some of those copies, I believe, in Kevin Wolf's. If you're watching the YouTube version of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club, he's got some of the single issues of this series. I only had one of the issues, so I got into the series late, but Jamie Cosley recently released the 4-issue Volume 1, Book 1 trade paperback collection. So this will be a spoiler-free review for that, because we just encourage people to get a little taste of what it is and go out there and place an order for independent comics. So BlueScar the Barbarian. This story kicks off at an antique store where we have people breaking in because they're looking for something in the galaxy in this antique store. And as I mentioned, the Crimson, the ruler of the galaxy, our villain of our story, is going in, and he's got his cronies with him, and they're looking for this magical item that unfortunately was just sold to none other than BlueScar. BlueScar was given this little sword that he thought was just a toy. He did make a little comment just saying why he's got this little skull purse that Gundam insisted on him having, but he figured, all right, I'll take it anyways. But this story quickly turns into an adventure as Crimson is trying to track down who BlueScar is. And what's kind of a funny ongoing theme throughout the book is the fact that while we're led to believe, we're told that, Crimson is the ruler of a galaxy, he's going through and he's, retrieving all these items and getting all this power and doing all this damage. And BlueScar has no idea who he is. So that just kind of underplays it when Crimson is trying to stand tall in front of him. He's like, "You don't know who I am?" And he's like, "I have no idea who you are. This is just a toy. Leave me alone." But this leads to an interesting adventure. We have a lot of fun characters throughout the issues because Crimson, as he continues to search to track down BlueScar, he sends out, bounty hunters basically. And I just want to shout out to the awesome character names that are created by this creator team. I don't know if it all comes solely from Jamie Cosley, but Jeremiah Thundermuffin, we've got Solomon Bounce, and then even if you go back to, just because I happen to have it here, when you go back to an old comic from the early 2000s from Jamie Cosley, you have Nippy Wallaboosh. So Jamie Cosley has had a long history, 25 plus years of just creating a lot of fun, goofy names for characters. And when I read Jeremiah Thundermuffin, I'm like, that book was worth it just for that title alone. And yep. And so yeah, this is it's a lot of fun. If you like Conan the Barbarian, if you like Star Wars, it has a lot of good, sci-fi and fantasy elements that are kind of wrapped together, and you see a lot of, like Hagar the Horrible type of designs and love. There's just a lot of great stuff. I really, really dug it. I don't really lean towards Conan books and Hercules books and things like that too often, but when it's done in a fun, cartoony space style like this, this won my heart over in that kind of genre. So yeah, other members here at the club have checked it out. Kevin Wolf, you're showing your copies there. You want to give your 2 cents on this?
Yeah, sure. I came into following BlueScar with the second issue. So the first issue had sold out. I learned that there were 75 copies total ever. So, but I haven't read issue 1, and I keep wanting to go back to the store as I read through the series, and that's in issue 1. I keep thinking, oh, I wish I could see that pawn shop or whatever it was. But yeah, it was a fun story. Yeah, if you think of sort of Thundar, He-Man, this mixture of sort of space technology with sort of a medieval barbarian thing, it's mixing it all up. And yeah, the story really hits a stride too, sort of it's building in the second issue, third issue, it's really moving. And I think that's one of the longer issues. It's fairly lengthy. And then the conclusion sort of and the cliffhanger at the very end is, at least for me, super intriguing because of my background in medieval stuff. And I won't say much more than that. I'm not sure if he's going to go and a more space or medieval direction. We'll see. But yeah, a lot of fun characters, super cute characters too. And there's some mystery elements. You're getting tidbits of information about BlueScar, who he is, where he comes from, and him also learning about the powers that the sword specifically hold. And then there's an artifact at the end. That would be a spoiler for me to say, that is revealed, and that opens up a whole new can of worms. So, so that'll be issue 5, I think, and Codsley's working on that right now.
Yeah, and it's while it has all those serious elements and really dipping into the story like you talked about, but it stays constant with good humor throughout from all the characters, and just you kind of build up some of these moments and then you toss a joke in there to kind of lighten things up. Kirby, I think maybe you have talked about this in the past, either on the club or on your show, but if you want to give your 2 cents on BlueScar.
Yeah, I talked about it on my show because Jamie was kind enough to send me issue number 4. And then I contacted him because I wanted the first 3, and I find out that I can't get them. So I had to yell at him about that. It's like, don't do that to me. It's like, get your ass out there and do a second printing then, damn it. It's like, because I want issue 1 through 4, but he did mention that he's going to be working on a trade. So once that comes out, I'll be able to get all the old issues.
Well, this is the trade here. This is the book 1.
Okay, that's got 1 through 4 in it then?
1 through 4, yep.
Okay, all right, then I'll just order that. Yep. Awesome.
So yeah. He had originally printed 75 copies. At the time of this recording, you should be good if you place an order with them. And I believe they start at $25. I forget what the shipping information is, but as long as he has copies, then he also puts a sketch in the inside cover as well. So it's a super good deal for books that were printed, limited print runs, which, you have to put your retail a little higher, and things like that. But I think this trade paperback is a huge deal. They got a really good deal on that. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
That box of the sketch that you have is part of the cliffhanger at the end of issue 4. So they open that box, and
yeah, so that's something that can be teased. So the reason why I brought this to the club on this episode, I got it like a couple weeks back, maybe a month ago. But Jamie Cosley was recently on Cartoonist by Night, a drawing show that I host over on YouTube. The episode is out at the time of this recording, and everybody's seeing it. And we learn about the history of BlueScar and everything about it. So after this show, don't pause now. Keep watching this show. Then go over to Cartoonist by Night. There's 2 awesome hours of Jamie Cosley learning about his career, as well as talking about Hanna-Barbera cartoons, which is a good choice. But he had, I'll give this little nugget here, for him and his son Tyler are the creators of this. And Jamie told him, being like, all right, you see this box that Gundon has right here on the very opening scene in that store there? He goes, there's something very important in that box. I don't know what it is. That's your job to figure it out. And he left it up to his son to get to that point to explain what's in the box, if you will. And so
what's in the box?
So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that's kind of a cool little fun story element between father and son, just being like, this is very important. I don't know what it does, but it's your job to figure it out. And it's such a cool challenge to throw out there for a creator in this kind of, the way they're making it. So that's a little teaser for not only getting yourself a copy of BlueScar the Barbarian, which you can just reach out to jamiecosley.com. That's JamieCosley.com, and you'll find his information. Just send him a message about it, or any of his social media. But then also check out the episode of Cartoonist by Night to learn more about him if you're not quite sold here by us enjoying this character. And any other thoughts?
Yeah, one other thought. Jamie also did a video on his YouTube channel having to do with his sketchbook and sort of early BlueScar stuff. So that was really enjoyable. And he flips through to see the progress and development of the character. And he shares his thoughts and why things happened and changed and stuff like that. And that was really enlightening for the whole series too. So do check that out too if you're interested.
He's doing awesome work over there. So that is BlueScar the Barbarian, available now in book 1 format in limited copies. So reach out to Jamie Cosley now if you want one for yourself. And more issues to come. They have a good plan for future issues, and they want to do this as long as the fans keep buying it.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
like the characters. They were a lot of fun. So.
There we go. And I think legally I'm going to change my name to Jeremiah Thunder Muffin. So it's too good of a name not to just wipe my whole identity and just start anew. All right, let's jump over to Kirby. What you're going to kick us off with?
Cult of the Lamb. This was a fun, interesting story, kind of like our I Hate Fairyland type feeling with the characters and stuff. But we have this cute little lamb that just so happens to be the last lamb around. And one of these, you got all these little hooded minions that are basically running the dungeon where the lamb is chained up, just waiting its demise. And while that's happening, they'll bring a bale of hay to the lamb to eat every day. And the minion that brings in the bale of hay will usually sneak some extra things into the bale, put some books and stuff so he can get some knowledge. And I think it's I can't remember if it's a he or she. She has little horns, but I could have swore they said a she in the storyline. But the lamb character learns that it's the last of its kind, which is basically called the Endling or something like that. And so she's going off to where these demon lords are, and they got the pentagram all set up, and they're going to bring the Axeman in to come and behead our little lamb character. The lamb gets beheaded and ends up instantly transported into a realm where this minion is demon character, and it's telling the lamb that you're basically, and the lamb's like, I was told that I'm going to see all these wonderful fields and all this stuff after I pass, and instead you end up in hell with a demon character that's telling you that, well, for the rest of your future now, you're going to go around, I'm going to put you back on earth, but I want you to go and start a cult in my name. And the lamb's all happy because he's like, yeah, put me back on earth, and I'm going to just basically wipe out everybody that screwed me over this whole time, got me caged up, stuck me in there, tortured me, killed me. So he's just going off, just having a good old time taking everybody out, and then ends up meeting up with this what the hell kind of character is he? I think he's part rat. It's like this little rat character that meets up with him and basically has this little red crown. It's like got a red marking on it, but he calls it the red crown. And he's sits there and starts telling them what's going on. You got to get on your mission. You got to start getting cult followers and start collecting them. And while they're doing this, we see the minions that took him out are now torturing this little bunny rabbit. And the bunny rabbit's all tied up, ready to be beheaded or killed and sacrificed. And our character comes in, takes out the bad guys, and then they let the rabbit go. And for helping us out, well, now you're going to become part of our thing. And the rabbit gets sucked into this big old puddle of blood. And she's all scared and screaming, goes through the puddle of blood. But on the other side, it's a nice little enchanted forest type world that they get transported to, and that's where all the cult members are going to form. And the rat guy tells him, the lamb character, that you should get him to start cleaning the place up, fix it up, because it's just a total mess. And it's like, have him start collecting things, building a house, build your empire for you, and basically be your minions. But he's like, the lamb character's like, no, they went through enough crap. They can do their own thing. They can hang out here, do whatever. And once the lamb character sees the rabbit, just leaves the rabbit alone. He's like, she's whittling some wood. Just leave her alone. Let her do her thing. I'm not going to make her do a bunch of work for me and stuff like that. And when she comes back over by the lamb, and he sees what she whittled. It's just a kind of a character that she whittled that is just like the lamb. She hands it to him, and something happens where he gets all zapped and stuff, and that's how the members become part of his cult. So from that point on, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm assuming he's going to go out and save a bunch of other critters in the woods that are being tortured by these hooded minions and stuff, and see what happens. But yeah, it's a lot like I Hate Fairyland, but a lot more focused on just a cult following style layout, and then the Hell's minions and all that we're gonna find out more about in the future. But this is really fun. I'm glad I picked it up. I got sketch covers, so there's no fancy cover underneath. Just goes right to the story. But yeah, if you like that type of thing, you want to see the cute and fuzzies, torture stuff, and this is the thing for you.
There's also a video game about Cult of the Lamb too.
That's right. They did mention that in the description, and I never heard of the game. So
Yeah, it's an indie.
yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's jump over to Katie. What you got for us?
Okay, so to start off, I have Frieren Volume 1 and 2 this week. It is called Frieren-Beyond Journey's End. It's a manga. Story is by Kanehito Yamada, and the art is by Tsukasa Abe. So the premise is our main character is an elf mage named Frieren. And, you know, the story opens, and we have our adventuring party who have defeated the bad guy, and now they are the big heroes. So we have Himmel the hero, Frieren the mage, Eisen the warrior. Eisen is a dwarf. Heiter the priest. So we have 2 humans, an elf, and a dwarf, and you know, big parade, and we're gonna celebrate and have a feast because you took out the bad guys. And wow, what an epic adventure! So amazing. And you know, everyone's like, oh, you know, what are you gonna do next? And oh, I know I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna keep looking for my spells. And they watch a meteor shower that occurs every 50 years, right? And the humans are, you know, amazed by this, and they're like, wow, you know, the next time this happens, I'm going to be so old, I don't even know if I'm going to be here. And Frieren, being an elf who conceivably will live for thousands of years, says, oh yeah, you know, we can do it again, no problem, right? Because for a human, 50 years is a very long time. For an elf, that's not that big of a deal. That's like, oh, next month it'll happen. Well, the party goes their separate ways, and 50 years pass, and Freyren's doing her own thing. She's out collecting some spells, you know, really just on her own while, you know, the humans age. You know, they go through a whole entire lifetime in this span of time. So 50 years come and go, and now it's time for the next meteor shower, and Frieren is back in town. Himmel's an old man now, and you know, he says that I don't have much time left. This is going to be the last time I'll see you. They watch the meteor shower, and he's right. He doesn't have much time left. He dies, and everyone comes to his funeral, much, you know, much older and a little bit wiser. And everyone's like, well, Frieren, like, why aren't you upset? Why aren't you sad about this? She's like, oh, you know, it's just like a thing that happens to humans. And it's kind of her defense, because is understanding and working through the idea that, oh yeah, grief and loss are a real thing, and there's no guarantee that we're going to get another tomorrow, and time is very fleeting. So she is realizing that she made a mistake, and that human lives were shorter than she understood, and she should have tried to get to know him better. And that's going to be the action that motivates her throughout the rest of this, is wanting to fix those mistakes from the past and get to know people better and spend more time with them. And so, you know, she kind of goes and says goodbye to the other. And like, all right, what do you? So she goes to visit the priest, who has taken on a young apprentice named Fern. Now, Fern also has the potential to become a mage, and she seems to be very skilled, and she wants to prove that she can do it. And the priest says, you know what, I'm an old man now, and I rescued her, and I want to make sure she has a future and a life. So, Frieren, will you take her as your apprentice when I die? And first she says no, and then he says, well, will you do it for an old friend? And he's like, I just need a little more time. I just need a little more time. And she says, okay, fine. So we get to see some mage training. Frieren is translating some grimoires of ancient knowledge. And then the priest passes away. They bury him. There's a little like running joke about he drinks way too much, so they are pouring out a bottle of whiskey on his grave to send him to the great beyond. And again, more reflecting on like what does it mean to lose people? You know, how do you react when your mentors, your guardians are no longer there for you? And I just thought it was so emotionally poignant, all while being set in a a fantasy world that has a lot of I think if you play D&D, you're going to see a lot of similarities here. And so now Fern is her apprentice, and they're wandering the countryside, and it ends up that they are repeating this epic quest that Frieren and her friends took all those years ago. They're repeating that quest because Frieren is a changed lady, and now she wants to appreciate it better. Volume 2, they meet Eisen again. Eisen's the dwarf, and he also has an apprentice, and he's like, you know what? I'm too old to be going out adventuring, and this person has, amazing potential. Will you take them with you? And again, it's, oh, no, I really can't. Oh, are you sure? And okay, fine. So they're forming a fellowship, if you will, and they're going to be going on a long journey that will take 10 years to the castle of the Demon King. And as we start to get into the story, they come into a town that appears to have an uneasy truce between humans and demons. And behind the scenes, the demons are secretly scheming and trying to run things and take out the humans. And Frieren and now her 2 apprentices kind of stick their noses where maybe they shouldn't have, and they end up getting captured. And it's a whole big deal. And who's going to save the day? Because we can't let these demons win. And that is the moment where the book ends, and we see Frieren reveal just how powerful of a mage she is, and she's going to take on our bad guys. And her young apprentices are going to get a chance to learn. I really liked this book a lot. It has a lot of markers of things that I like, and I thought the perspective of, an elf who's going to outlive their human counterparts, which is such a common theme in literature that doesn't get explored a ton. Having that played out here, I thought really gave it a unique note. Yes, it made a lot of parts bittersweet, but it was very relatable, and I want to see her grow as a person, and she can't get back the time she lost, but I do want to see her make new memories and forge new relationships with her friends now and the new friends that she's making. And I love me a good epic quest in a fantasy world, right up my alley. I'm excited. I'll keep reading these series and hopefully bring them back to the club. That's Frieren-Beyond Journey's End, Volume 1 and 2 from Viz Media. Check it out.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Check. Oh, yes. Go on, Kevin.
I have a question for Katie. A couple of those names are German.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, Frieren means to freeze. So does she have any cold powers or powers of ice or something?
We haven't seen yet, but she might. That's very possible.
And then the dwarf is Eisen, that means ice. Yes. And then Fern, it could be the plant, or Fern in German means distant, like far away. And so
that would make sense. Yeah, because she, kind of our initial introduction to this character is the priest has said, when you split this boulder on top of the cliff over there, like, distances away with your magic, then you'll be able to call yourself a mage. So her whole training is working to become powerful enough to split the rock at a very great distance. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Fun.
Good.
Yeah, and then Himmel and Heiter are also definitely German as well. So.
Oh yeah, Himmel is heaven, and what was the other one?
Heiter or Heiter, Heiter.
Yeah, Heiter is. It could be it can be a description for a day. If it's bright and sunny, it's Heiter. So I don't know if that's his personality.
Kind of, or it could be like because he's a priest, so he's supposed to be bringing the light of God to people.
Yeah.
He's not a particularly great priest, but I could see that being kind of part of the humor. Is he is the comic relief, and yeah, Himmel being heaven makes sense because he's the first one to die. So. Yeah, very cool. I love those insights. Thank you.
Sure.
I only took 2 years of German, and I don't have nearly the experience you have, but that is awesome.
That's fun. Thanks.
future episodes of the show, if Kevin Wolf doesn't have any comics to talk about, we're just going to have him in a little window in the corner and pop up when he needs to do some German translations. And it's very, very good asset for the comic club. Let's jump over to Eric. What you been reading?
All right. This is one that I actually got at the Comic-Con back in May. It's a trade paperback called Breathers by Justin Madsen. The writer / artist actually had a table there, so I was actually able to get it signed. It's a very interesting story. It takes place in a dystopian future. I just want to preface that this was actually completely written before the pandemic. So, like I said, it takes place in a dystopian future where there is a virus in the air that if you breathe it, it will get into your system and kill you like almost immediately. So a lot of the people you see, they wear breathers. The different masks basically is able to filter the virus out. Everybody's homes, if they have windows, they're all sealed. They have a unit that's designed to, completely filter the virus out of the system. And it follows like many different characters. Like one is mother and daughter who are on the run from the law. Another one is a traveling breather mask salesman. And another is a sibling pair where, the sister lives out in the country in a house, and her brother goes to visit her, and he goes into the house, finds her mask there. She's nowhere to be found, goes out and finds she's outside, no mask, and she's fine. She should be dead, but like I said, she's fine. So there's that issue. Also, during the backdrop of this, there is what's called a Breathe Free movement, which is basically a bunch of virus deniers who say that it's time for us to put the masks away. The virus hasn't been able to propagate at all, so we're just going to get together, take our mask off. We don't need it anymore. So, like I said, this was actually completely written before the pandemic, which makes the story even more interesting. But I also like it because, not only did he write it, but he also drew it. It has a somewhat drab, cartoony style, which I think it definitely, adds credence to the fact that, things are run down. People are fine. We're able to make food and everything, but, it's kind of like a wasteland that we're still pretty much separated. And, you can't just go outside, play games anymore. Sports are pretty much done now. But yeah, this is a very good book. If you like some of the weird, more offbeat things, definitely worth taking a look. It's Breathers, Justin Madsen from Dark Horse Comics.
Okay, very interesting. Kevin Wolf, what did you bring to us this week?
Yeah, I had a light comic week this week. So I got a little bit distracted by Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I've been reading that this week, but I got Transformers number, what are we on? 10. So Daniel Warren Johnson. Is it Jorge or George? Jorge Corona?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's been a fun run. I've been on it since the beginning, issue 1. And as a child, I come from a large family, so we could never afford Transformer toys. So it was always this distant thing that I was interested in, but I couldn't get to. And I like Daniel Warren Johnson's art a lot, so I've jumped on. And the great thing about this series, at least for me, is Megatron isn't around. And so there's these different leaders of the Decepticons. And so I've always enjoyed that part of like the cartoon when you have Starscream when he tries to take over, or Shockwave and so forth. And so you see that interaction in this episode. And the ending of this episode, there's a huge reveal because the Decepticons are trying to get back to Cybertron. But let's see, there's Shockwave. Always, I get the names confused. Shockwave and what was the other wave I just mentioned?
Soundwave.
What is it?
Soundwave.
Soundwave. Yeah. So Shockwave is actually leading now. Soundwave was leading, and so the twist. I forget if we're doing spoilers. I can do spoilers on this, right?
Yep. Everyone's been warned at the beginning of the video version.
All right. Yeah. So
if you haven't read it, close your ears now. But
yeah. So if you don't want the spoiler to the end of issue 10, Cybertron is pulled into Earth's orbit. And instead of them going there, they're bringing Cybertron to Earth. And the last line is, "Let the harvest begin." And obviously the Decepticons plan to suck Earth dry for energy purposes. So it's been super fun and consistent. I think there's one issue out of the whole run, and it was only a part of it where there's some slightly annoying dialogue, but besides that, just incredible the whole way. So highly recommend it.
yeah, the first 6 issues were written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson, who's a big Transformers fan. You saw a lot of the love, his style. You still see his style, but it fits well with the Transformers designs. I think he talked about it on his own show where he, wanted to stay true to it as possible. But I think his style, which is very unique, I think works very well with this. And then after issue 6, they brought in Jorge, and I think he still kept the vibe of Daniel's art.
Yeah.
And if you're not like real keen to watching that stuff, I don't think you really would have noticed any. It's not some big, drastic difference. You're not going from, like you're seeing jumping from him to like a Garfield artist or something. Like it's just like they did very good to give him a replacement artist, because Daniel's still doing, I think, the main covers, if not the variant covers, but he's still not only writing it but doing the covers as well. So he's doing a lot of work as well as his other books that we'll be talking about in the preview section. Some upcoming Daniel Warren Johnson stuff. Kirby?
That was Transformers book that you reviewed?
Yeah, number 10.
Okay. Now, are you following Void Rivals at all?
No, I haven't read any of that. Yeah.
Anybody following Void Rivals still?
So I read the first couple, and I have a lot. I have to catch up on a lot of them yet, but yeah.
Okay.
That's all I know.
I guess that's all. I knew it was all connected to the Transformers world, but in some of the latest reviews, some of the things I heard about the actual human characters, it's all going to be connected. So I'm kind of curious if anybody was reading, because I read the first 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. And there's a lot of going on with their Energon universe and like the G.I. Joe books. And I think there's a couple spin-offs for G.I. Joe, and they have all this grand plan that I think is all orchestrated by Robert Kirkman, if I'm not mistaken, because it's all bound and everything from Image. But yeah, I'm almost caught up with the Transformers. I got to jump into some Void Rivals yet. And then, but yeah, normally, once again, that's something that I wouldn't normally pick up Transformers books, but Daniel Warren Johnson, his love for something, that it was a good sell, and I'm still reading and buying them. So
there's only one artistic difference that I've been able to pick up on, and Daniel Warren Johnson has mentioned this a little bit with the legs of the Transformers. He's not a fan of these really sort of blocky ones, and so he gives their legs like bends, almost like a human type of shape. And George Corone did an interview recently with or Jorge, sorry, and I think he tried to keep a little bit of that Daniel Warren Johnson element in the art, but you can tell that Corona's work is slightly blockier and grounded. It feels more weighted. But they're both amazing. And then you have the wrestling sort of influence in the first story arc where they're doing suplexes and stuff like that. So super fun.
And what a great segue to a very unplanned next book, because I am talking about Total Suplex of the Heart. This is a graphic novel that when I saw the title, I'm like, I don't care what's on the inside. You get all my money for that awesome title. Glowing up isn't the same as growing up. Georgie's always been nerdy, teased by jocks, spending her lunchtime with a comic in hand, and falling in love with wrestling from Saturday nights on the couch with her dad. But that was then. This is now. She's out of school, she's freelancing as a journalist, and hot as heck. In an effort to prove to her mom that she has a real job, she goes undercover in the local hardcore wrestling scene to investigate a piece. She's quickly swept up in the drama, both in and out of the ring. With new friendships developing and potential romance blossoming, she's riding the wave. Don't get too excited, Kevin Wolf. Not an riding the wave of attention that temporarily silences her in her own insecurities. But as girl fights, casual hookups, and creepy older men begin to dominate her days, Georgie has to ask herself who really holds the power in her life and whether she's happy with where it's headed. An unflinchingly honest coming of age tale set in the fast paced world of wrestling, Total Suplex of the Heart explores the complicated nature of growing up as a young woman in a male dominated world. Georgie battles through eating disorders, toxic relationships, and her own messy mistakes. There's a lot here. I didn't realize there was so much. It's a spirited story of falling in love, crashing and burning, and then finding your way back by falling in love again, this time with yourself. This graphic novel is done by Joanne Starer, Ornella Greco, and Nathan Kemp. So while I was sold on the title, I've been sold on, wrestling books seem to, in the last like 5 to 8 years, just like keep blowing up, and my eyes have been on most of them, and I've really enjoyed them, especially when you get into the independent stuff here. I will say this up front, while it is, focus on wrestling and dealing with wrestlers in the wrestling world and wrestling promotions, it is very romance heavy, personal life first. So this isn't a book that you're going to get where you're just seeing match after match after match. It's a lot of the stuff that happens, after the matches, before the matches. So just want to kind of do that as a little setup for those. I dig romance titles and stuff like that. So this was a good blend for me to check this out. So yeah, very quickly you see Georgie kind of being thrown into this world as she's trying to get in with the local wrestling group and talking with the promoter and finding her way in, not only to investigate this piece, but she very quickly becomes part of the show by becoming one of the valets for the local wrestling group. You start to learn a lot of the different characters, friends and foes, both in off and on of the mat, if you will, and quickly find out who she can trust and who she can't. Crushes are there. You got people where you have your main wrestler character. I read this a couple weeks ago, so I don't remember some of the wrestling gimmick names in here, but you got your like main hotshot wrestler, who is basically like the big flirt and everything, and then you have kind of this other wrestler she quickly finds a connection with, a friendship with. There's a moment in this story that I had to kind of flip through a couple times, thinking that I accidentally flipped a couple extra pages, because you exist in this world while she's kind of really setting foot in the ring here, and then you kind of take a very quick passage of time as she gets in a relationship with one of these wrestlers, and it turns into like the story kind of speeds up real quick to a point where I'm like, oh, I felt like we like missed something there, but we kind of just like see the budding of a relationship, the blossoming of it, and then quickly we're into it, and now it's like 6 months, and now we're at a year, and this is where we're moved in, and we have this going on. So the pacing of that kind of really caught me off guard, but I read this all in a sitting, and I was very into it. Once again, it's very relationship heavy, which is using wrestling as like the common interest and background. But the really interesting thing that you find out by the end of this book is you have not story wise, but you get a little history. They say breaking kayfabe being a term within the wrestling world. But our creator here, Joanne, talks about her life. I want to block out part of the page here so I can show an image of her, so I don't show any story image. So she shares her life. Basically, we find out that the character of Georgie is stuff that she had done in her own life, and there was a time where she set up um, her own women's wrestling company back in 2002. It was very difficult back then to get anyone to take it seriously. It was the early days of the internet. We were literally advertising shows by mailing postcards. Almost no one remembers my company or what I did, but other promotions picked up where I left off and thrived and helped build an incredible women's wrestling scene in the US. And that's genuinely thrilling to me. So it's really cool to kind of just read the ups and downs of Georgie in the story and find out that more of it was true than you would think in a kind of a setup like this. And, in a world of professional wrestling, you probably don't have a lot of people in your life that being like, oh yeah, I know a professional wrestler. Like it's, there's a lot of them out there. There's so many independent leagues and stuff, but it's interesting to kind of get the insight of a story from someone who's lived that life and they're making comics about it. This was very good. Once again, I was sold by the name and I was won by the story. This is an excellent book. So if you like romance comics and have no interest in wrestling, I think there's a lot here for you to enjoy. If you are a wrestling fan, there's definitely you're gonna enjoy a lot of just the independent wrestling and the if you watch the movie The Wrestler and stuff, and this isn't like a very violent, bloody comic or anything like that. It is, I believe, a mature readers just when dealing with the romance. Yeah, it is for mature readers on that level. But if you're a hardcore wrestling fan and stuff, I quote unquote warn you that it is a romance heavy story, and you're not going in and getting like Daniel Warren Johnson's Do a Power Bomb where it's just like there's matches in every single issue and just all that. So that's the only thing I warn off. But I do sell this as an excellent story and graphic novel. So Total Suplex of the Heart. And a funny little thing is that a couple times I've had to type this out, whether it be in my story notes and the agenda and such, kept spelling Hart, Hart, which the Harts are a wrestling family, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, all of them. So it was just funny that while I'm typing this, total suplex of the heart, I kept spelling heart wrong just because of the wrestling. That's a little tidbit on that. So check it out.
Yeah, I was looking forward to your review on that because that's why I did back off from it because of the romance part of it. Felt like it was going to be romance heavy, but yeah,
it is.
Sounds all right though.
Yep.
Did you guys watch Iron Claw? By the way, the wrestling movie.
It's on my list. That's the Zac Efron one, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
If you're gonna watch Iron Claw, I really suggest listen to the Chris Jericho podcast where he has Kevin Von Erich and his sons on it. I can't remember how long back it was a few months back, but you get more of the real story about what's going on. The Iron Claw gets a little too into the darkness.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet just because I know the real stories and all the good parts of it too. And then I just don't want to see where they're just going to drag the bad parts out. But yeah, I'll still watch it.
Yeah.
If you want a better review straight from the horse's mouth, people that didn't even have a chance to have any part of the movie, go that route. Listen to real family members.
And we're going to take this quick little moment to advertise my friend Matt Rogers has this little mini zine called Dead Wrestlers Volume 1. It's just an informational packet, just kind of giving a little history, and opening page does have Von Erich in there. But reach out to Matt Rogers over on social media and his coffee shop. I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyways.
Limited quantities available.
Yep, that ends the wrestling segment. Kirby?
All right. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, black, white, and green, #1 with this awesome Bebop and Rocksteady cover on the first issue. Sadly, Bebop and Rocksteady aren't in the first issue. I like how they gave it 4 stories in this issue, or some only do 3 and stuff. So I was all excited because the first 3 stories focus on one turtle. So I figured all 4 would just be single turtle stories. But our first one, we have green screen where Donnie is busy while the boys got to go out on patrol, and he doesn't want to join up with them. So they go out, deal with some things, and they come across some enemies. They get in a battle, and all of a sudden, Donnie's got like a tracker on him, keeping an eye on where they go in case something happens. All of a sudden, they just disappear. He can't get their connection, can't find out where they are. And here they kind of like fell into a hole where it just so happens to be our friend, the giant lizard. I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, they end up battling him they aren't in the sewers. They just fell into a building somewhere. And Donnie lost their signal, so he goes and tracks him down where he last seen him and stuff and tries to help him out. And it's basically another story learning about brothers working together and stuff instead of doing things alone. Go ahead.
Is it Leatherhead? Is that the name?
Leatherhead or Leatherface? It's one of those two.
Yeah,
I think it's Leatherhead. I think you're right. Leatherface, yeah, Leatherface is Texas name. Totally different thing. Then our second story is called The Brutal Sword of Leonardo, where you see Leonardo with this kind of like barbarian type sword. Basically, it's a story where he gets teleported into, and there's these lizard creatures and stuff, and they don't show a good. Well, I guess this is probably the best image of the lizard type creatures, but he gets teleported into where they are. They find a way to kind of also use the teleportation device to get to where there's a gemstone that they're trying to collect, and the gemstone has some mystical powers that both sides are kind of. Leonardo in this one, he kind of it's kind of confusing because he gets teleported into that dimension or world or whatever, and all of a sudden it goes right to him where he's running all the clans and everybody around there, kind of like using them for his own evil deeds, and kind of being kind of rude how he's over controlling in this storyline. But then we find out later on what's going on, because he kind of gets mad at his brothers, and it just goes off on his own lonesome self. And then he again they all kind of have a realization that you need to work together, help each other out and all that stuff. But his brothers end up getting the teleporter fixed enough where they can actually control the teleportation themselves, and then they go to help him out and save him. But he doesn't want to leave. He's like, I got my own kingdom now. It's like, why should I leave? And then the third story is called The Flame That Fuels You. And in this one, we got Raph is a very angry loner in this one. Again, not wanting to deal with his brothers, getting mad, going off on his own. And we get this like digital girl that appears and starts helping him along the way. He's basically suffering through some type of pain issues. He keeps going out on battles. You see him come back with his shell with all these arrows and stuff sticking out of it. And he's just doing his thing again, where he just wants to. Raph always is going off alone, the Night Watcher and all that stuff, and not wanting to work with the brothers as much as he should. But he comes across. This one takes us into like a Japanese demon storyline, and he ends up battling this big old demon, and eventually the brothers connect with him, but it's like they keep in the background. You got these flames that start appearing, and you hear him talking about the fire, and he started a fire. It almost makes it sound like Raph's like asleep, and he's starting these things, and the guys are in the background trying to stop him. So they're like, put it out, put it out, put it out. But they're not in with him in this battle. So it feels like he's in a dream world, but it never really connected it enough to give you that. You just basically see him coming back and with a special item from that dream world and giving it to the brothers, and it's something that you can't really use in the sewers, so they got to do some special things to make it work, but I don't want to give it away. And then the last story, which I was really hoping was going to be all about Mikey, is identity theft. But in this story, instead, we get this jar of green sludge that Mikey brings in to Donnie, and Donnie's basically working on his desk, and he's got his phone sitting there, and he's watching a replay of them doing a battle training session, and all of a sudden the goo starts working like Ghostbusters, starts bubbling up and growing and getting bigger and bigger, and apparently it's sitting in front of the phone learning everything, all the moves that the phone's showing, and it basically turns into a giant turtle sludge monster that they got to battle, and it's got all their moves from the phone and knows all their fighting styles and stuff from that, and can jump between all four of the turtles, and one of them slices one in half, and then of course you got two green turtle sludge monsters then that they got to battle. And it was really fun. That was probably my favorite story out of all of them, but I was really bummed that since they had the opportunity to do 4 single solo stories, that they left Mikey out and made it a group story in the end, even though it was probably the best story. But yeah, it was fun. I'm glad we got these guys out now with their black, white, and green. So I'm not sure how many issues it's going to go. I'm guessing 5, but we'll see what happens.
Cool. Jump over to Katie. What you got for us?
All right, my next pick is called Unordinary. Oh, I've noticed when it covers my eyes, it cuts off the picture. Unordinary. This is by Uru-chan, and it is published by Webtoons. And volume 1 is what I'm reviewing today, and I think volume 2 just came out quite recently. I've been reading a lot of these webtoons lately, and they're all pretty interesting. So this is a twist on a pretty classic story, high school cliques, nerds versus jocks. Our main characters are John and Serafina, who goes by Sarah. And kind of the twist in this is all of the students have superpowers. And they're ranked on like a scale from 0 to 5 as to how powerful their powers are, how strong they are. And we find out that John is a 0. He doesn't have any powers. He's just a regular human. And Serafina is very powerful. She's like a 4.5 on this scale. And, she's very rebellious. She doesn't really like the other powered kids. And John's kind of a mystery that we don't fully get revealed throughout this book. So kind of day to day, we see them go into classes and stuff, and John is just like not very well engaged in school or anything, but he's always getting into fights with these super powered kids. And it's kind of a running theme that like, why are you picking fights with people who can completely knock you on your butt? Why are you doing this every single time? And more than that, why are you putting up with this crap? Like, you can at least like fight back, right? So him and Sarah, they develop their friendship, and they're going to school, they're working on projects together, navigating life with cliques and friendships and high school rivalries and stuff. And then kind of the overarching story behind this that contributes to the mystery of John is so there's been villains who are going out and killing superpowered people, and they have been basing this violence off of a book called Unordinary, which is the title of this book, Unordinary. And even though it's a fiction book, they're using it as like their manifesto. So I guess that doesn't change between our world and their world. And the premise of the book is, well, it's not fair that, powered people are the ones controlling the government and are very authoritarian and get to make all these choices for all of us. And we should be more equal and include people who are non-powered. And instead of seeing it as like, one's better than the other, admit that they both have their strengths, and non-powered are, they're still humans, right? And of course, vigilantes are taking it way too far, and they're like, well, we need to kill all the superpowered people. And there's a string of murders happening, and some of the students are connected to it in different ways. Now, the twist is John's mysterious father wrote this book and dedicated it to his son. So he's got copies of this contraband lying around, and it causes all kinds of trouble. And Sarah ends up getting suspended. And, that's the larger story. And at the end, we kind of start to see some of the mystery peel back from John, because he decides, you're right, I don't have to take this anymore. And he does start fighting back, even against these very powered people. And, he goes through moments of like anger and frustration at how he's being treated. And then at the end of the book, his eyes start glowing. He starts being able to take out people that physically he shouldn't have had a chance to do. So is he powered? Is he hiding them? Does he have a violent past? I don't know. I can't decide what I think about this book. I've aged out of wanting to read a lot of stories about high schoolers. But also I'm like, this intrigues me. This catches my interest. I can't decide what I think about this, but I want to know. I want to know more about this mystery. One thing is, like, there are a lot of like fist fights in this book. So if you got beat up in school, or you just don't want to read about that dynamic, you might want to skip this one. I didn't find it offensive, but it's a feature of the book. So if that's not for you, then I suggest reading something else. But I liked this, and I'm actually curious enough. I want to see if the library has issue 2. So that is Unordinary by Uru-chan, and this started as a web novel, and like many of the webtoons, is now being published in books. So check it out, and check out some of the other titles we reviewed from webtoons, and have an unordinary day.
Very nice. We have one more weekly review on deck here, I believe. Eric, yes, Kevin?
Oh, just really briefly going back to the turtle stuff. There's Art Baltazar is doing a signing for 40th anniversary celebration of the TMNT. So that's on July 20th. So if you go to Yeah Comics. Anyways, that's all.
No problem. Jump over to Eric.
Last one I have is actually a comic by Mike Baron that I picked up when I visited his booth at May Comic Con, called Private American. Essentially what it is, it was published by Mike Baron's own label back in 2023. I learned a while ago that Mike Baron is quite conservative, and this book kind of shows it. It revolves around Marcus Zamora, who's a second generation Cuban American veteran, and he fancies himself a patriot. He lives along the Texas border, and he has seen a lot of drugs come in, a lot of human trafficking, and he's decided no more. So, as Mike Baron was the spearheaded author of the Punisher ongoing series, like the first one, he likes to make, other Punisher characters such as this one. So he takes it on himself. If he finds coyotes like trafficking, slaves, he goes in, he takes out the coyotes, but still lets the other people, who are looking for a better life, into the country. There were some really interesting moments here. Like, one thing that has really ticked him off, because he kind of felt that being the ongoing, being the father of the ongoing Punisher series has kind of been his baby, and he really hates how cops and stuff have been using it. So, trying to see. So at one point, he actually puts a Punisher skull on a bunch of people who have come to actually keep him from killing all the traffickers, and it gets identified as a symbol for white supremacists. which I thought was actually kind of funny. And then there's another thing. One thing, if you paid attention, or if you knew about guns in like the 80s and 90s when Mike Baron was running the Punisher, he tended not to use a lot of fake guns. He always wanted to make sure they were real ones that people have actually shot. And I thought it was interesting because he did the same thing here. Like he reveals a corner shot rifle that's designed, like it says, goes around the corner, pew, you don't have to look at the person to shoot him anymore. Not much honor. But then he talks about the tracking point 388 system, which is actually a mount. It's like a scope mounted on a gun that works with drones to basically tell you when you need to pull the trigger for the best shot. And then one of my favorite, he does the Chiappa Rhino, which is actually a revolver that the barrel's lower, so when you shoot, the recoil goes into your hand instead of up. And I'm like, this is the exact stuff that I loved about the Punisher back then. Because, I'm kind of a gun nut, and just talking with Mike Baron, I learned he is too. So yeah, and a lot of it came out in this story. So far it's just been this one volume. They're looking, I guess they're looking maybe make a second one, because near the end there's like a rich philanthropist who is tired of seeing people come into the country and basically victimize people who are looking for a better life, as well as bringing in stuff like fentanyl. So the private American ends up coming across a benefactor who has all sorts of equipment, as well as a bunch of disenfranchised former soldiers and police officers who were fired because they didn't take the jab. So you can tell this is actually something that you can definitely tell has Mike Baron's fingerprints all over it. So yeah, if you're a fan of the first run of the Punisher series, I think you might like this. Mike Baron has been trying to make a lot of different books about people who the Punisher should be. He's also, as I turned out, he's no fan of Frankencastle either, so just made me like him more.
I think he crowdfunded that book, right?
Yes,
yeah.
he crowdfunded that one.
Yeah.
Not sure if he's crowdfunding a second one anytime soon. I'd like to see the story continue, though. So.
All right. And that is going to do it for the weekly reviews. I believe, Kevin, you didn't have a second one, correct?
No. Yep. No.
Sure. That is going to do it for the weekly reviews, but we do have another segment, and that is the news.
And now, the news.
Okay, it's time to cover the July previews catalogs for products coming out in September and beyond. We'll kick it off with Marvel. One I'm excited for is Dazzler #1. So bright this star, Dazzler. Marvel's glittering mutant songstress has been in and out of the limelight over the years, but now the time has finally come for her to take center stage. Dazzler embarks on a new world tour, the culmination and celebration of her entire musical career. And along the ride is her new road crew, Domino, Strong Guy, and Multiple Man. But while Dazzler may be ready to focus on her music, her celebrity mutant status and a violent attack may sideline an entire endeavor before it's even begun. Each issue features an original song lyrics from Allie's Notebook. Don't miss the concert and comic event of the year. With there being a new Dazzler series, and we have a mutant-centric Deadpool Wolverine movie coming out. There's no confirmation, but still crossing the fingers. We finally get to see Dazzler show up in live action. Who knows who it's going to be? I have somebody I hope it's going to be. I hope it's going to be Eric, club member Eric, is going to be Dazzler. But we'll find out. He's, I'm sure is signed NDA, so we'll find out. But anyways, when I see there's a new comic for Dazzler, it just gives me more hope that Dazzler will actually be in that movie. So Dazzler #1. Kirby?
Wolverine #1. I just love this cover. That sold it to me right there. But there's something else that sells it too. The legend begins anew in the adamantium tough new ongoing series. There's a killer in the woods, and as Wolverine's attempt at peace is shattered, an old enemy will reemerge as a new villain rises who will bring Logan to the brink of his berserker rage. But Nightcrawler knows his old friend is capable of doing what's right, and before long, Logan will have to unleash his claws, push his healing factor to the limit, and demonstrate he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, is at what he does once and for all. Nice be damned. The legendary Wolverine ongoing series kicks off anew with the superstar creative team of Saladin Ahmed and Martin Coccolo, beginning their epic journey with Logan. There's a collector's note that this is a key first appearance and a major addition to the lore of Wolverine in this issue. So since it's a key one, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to get this cover. I love this X-ray cover and this battle cover here in the center, which might be the new character they're talking about. That negative space cover is pretty cool too. But yeah, since there's a key appearance, I might have to pick up 2 or 3 covers on that one.
The appearance might be Eric as Dazzler, but once again, he cannot speak on that. Katie, anything from Marvel?
Sure. So, another Star Wars Epic Collection, no surprise. We have The New Republic, Volume 8. This is available for pre-order now, and it will be available, according to previews, October 30th, and it's going to be $45. Don't get too attached to that date because they schedule the Epic collections long in advance and they often end up moving around, but it's scheduled for later this year and right on brand for, the pricing of other Epic collections. This is the last volume of the New Republic Epic collections, and it's focusing on the Yuuzhan Vong War. I am, as bad guys, they're very effective bad guys because they really creep me out, but I know not everybody likes the Yuuzhan Vong. I'm excited to check them out in comics and probably get my fangirl heart broken all over again, depending on what events these comic books cover. But I'm looking forward to this. Check back and through our back issues where I review a whole bunch of Star Wars Epic collections. This one features work by Tom Taylor, Colin Wilson, and Zhou Chen. And pre-order now for Star Wars The New Republic Volume 8 from the Epic Collections line.
Excellent. Kevin?
Yeah, this is for Kirby. My LCS gave me this, but there's an interview for the Wolverine inside there with the author writing it. And then there's a little sneak peek that might be I'm not sure if that's the new character, but
Okay.
yeah.
I think they had that at the shop today. I should have grabbed it.
Yeah, they gave it to me for free, so maybe a little more info about it. There's a
Cool.
John Romita Jr. cover too, and everybody either loves or hates him, but I don't know if you saw that one. There's the image of it right there.
Yeah.
Too clean for me for Wolverine, but I like Romita
too.
Let's jump over to Eric. Anything from Marvel?
Not this month. Haven't really, just going with my ongoing still. Nothing that's popped out at me lately.
No problem. We'll check in with you for the other publishers. Kevin Wolf, anything? Did you have a chance to look through anything?
For coming up in the I haven't actually. I'm trying to think. There was there's a title that I am looking forward to, but I'm blanking on the name, but it's coming out August, September, so maybe it'll hit me as we go.
Dazzler #1 starring Eric from the club, I think. I don't know
why. I picture sparkles, and I don't know why I know that title, but
another pick from Marvel and a possible club selection, a one-shot Marvel and Disney. What if Donald Duck became Thor? Let's see. Is the fowl worthy of the hammer of Thor? When Donald Duck chaperones Huey, Dewey, and Louie on an archaeological trip I said that wrong, to search for ancient Viking artifacts, he finds more than he bargained for when he comes across the stone ducks from Saturn, preparing for an invasion. But everything changes when he discovers an enchanted cane that causes an exceptional transformation, gifting him with the power of Thor. Can he learn how to use his new abilities in time to save Duckburg before he changes back? Find out in this mind twisting retelling of the mighty Thor's thunderous origin. So yeah, we'll be covering Uncle Scrooge. We'll be covering Donald Duck as Wolverine, and now an upcoming issue of Donald Duck and Thor. So I don't know if other people are jumping on that as well, but just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'll be picking it up.
That's two at least, but we'll find out as we go along.
The Donald Duck as Wolverine was the title I couldn't remember, but that was it. So I'll jump on board on that one too.
Very cool. Kirby?
Marvel Zombies. This is Dawn of Decay 4-issue run. A new zombie virus is unleashed, and Groot is patient zero. Groot feels bad not only because Rocket's latest scheme put them firmly in the crosshairs of the Avengers, but also he's just plain sick. Sap dripping nose and all. Things go from bad to apocalyptic, however, after an ill-timed sneeze in Captain America's face has unforeseeable consequences. Suddenly, Groot is being attacked by a horde of zombified Avengers, and only he and Hulk, with his impenetrable green skin, remain impervious. Now it's up to these two heroes to team up and fight their way through a blighted New York City to Banner's lab in Avengers Tower to find a cure before it's too late. But can Groot keep the hero in check and on track, or will Hulk unleash his deadly might on the zombies they once called friends? Yeah. I was gonna wait for the trade, but it's only 4 issues, so I can do that.
I think I'm on board for that because of Groot's
yeah. And his sap dripping off him.
And another advertisement for Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube, because the audio listeners don't get this, but maybe there's some hint that Eric will be Dazzler. We'll just say can't say
sparkly.
Legally, he can't say anymore either. I jump over to Katie. Anything else from Marvel?
Yeah, so I was also tentatively interested in the What If Donald Duck Became Thor, and I'm wondering, around Christmas, are we going to get a Donald Duck meets the Marvel Universe mashup trade? Because that would be kind of cool. But I'd also be interested in when Donald Duck became Thor, and the Marvel Zombies that Kirby just reviewed sounds hilarious. But other than that, nothing Marvel, but I would be open to a club pick.
Okay, so with that, let's nominate the Donald Duck Thor, and I'm typing it out here to remind everyone else in the club, as well as Marvel Zombies, because that's myself, Kirby, and Katie at least. So we'll nominate those two, and I will alert the other club members. So, all right. So should I skip over Kevin then? Is that pretty much all you have for? Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to mine, I forgot I got to open up my images because I didn't have the physical catalog this time around. I have one more from Marvel. This one I was very curious about. This is Spider-Man Homeroom Heroes #1. Marvel's new comics for young readers continue. Old foes, new tricks, teenage superhero Spider-Man has enough on his plate keeping New York City safe from the likes of Electro and Tombstone. But when you add in his life as a high schooler, Peter Parker, things get really stressful. Luckily, Spidey's got web shooters, spider sense, and some super friends, and a knack for creative problem solving on his side. Featuring 2 10-page short stories, this new series is perfect intro to the Marvel Universe for the wall crawling world of Spider-Man. I think there was, at least with the online ordering, there was a really good discount on there to bring a kid's comic, very inexpensive. So I threw a copy on there and I figured I'd check it out. But the one thing that sold me is that while I've read more Spider-Man comics than any other kind of comics, She-Hulk is also on the cover, so that caught my attention to check this out. But also I wanted to throw it out there because of it being a kid-centric storytelling and probably a cheaper retail according to the online outlet that I go to. So that was it for my Marvel. Anything else?
That was it for me. So.
Katie, anything from Marvel? Okay, so let's jump over to Eric. Anything from DC Comics at all?
I hate to sound like a broken record, but I don't know why the main Marvel and DC, it just hasn't had much of anything that's really piqued my interest.
Yeah, we've experienced that in the last couple months of the catalogs and stuff, and our independent sections have been pretty robust with some great titles. Anything you noticed at all, Kevin Wolf from DC at all, or?
I'm a big Superman fan, but I haven't been reading, in all honesty, the title since who came over from Marvel?
Brian Bendis.
Yeah, Bendis, and that turned me off. So I'm wanting to hop back on, and at some point I will. But
do they even do Superman anymore? It's Super Sons, everything I see.
Yeah, Action. I think they're doing Action now, and Super Sons are.
And at the time of this recording, we are just under a year until James Gunn's Superman movie, the launching of his new established universe. So I'm going to keep an eye on some Superman stuff coming up in the next year, just to kind of get myself hyped up. We've talked about it here at the club. I don't know if Kevin Wolf or if you were there or heard him, but me and Kirby praising the All Reds and Mark Russell on Superman Space Age.
Oh yeah,
Reissue series. There are oversized issues, so it's basically 6 issues or so. Maybe even more. It might be like 9 issues, 8 issues based on page count. But yeah, so recommendation of the recent stuff that you don't need any other current continuity stuff. Awesome title, Superman Space Age. Okay, DC Comics over for me. I have speaking of Michael Allred, he just does the cover art on this, which got my attention for issue number 1. Plastic Man No More. Let's see here. Eel O'Brien might be a superhero now, but before he was anything else, he was a crook. Until the accident the accident that turned him into a pliable plastic man, Eel was bad to the bone, and just because he no longer has bones doesn't mean that's still not true. When an incident on a Justice League mission leads to catastrophic cellular damage, Plastic Man discovers he just might be out of time to make amends for the past he's tried hard to outrun, or to save the soul of his son, who, unfortunately for him, might have inherited more from dear old dad than just his superpowers. But yeah, Michael Allred has a variant cover. I think a variant. Yep,
it's variant.
So he has that, and that got my attention. So I'm like, all right, I'll check that out. And I haven't really read too much Plastic Man, but I think it'll probably be a good time at least to check it out for one issue. Kirby, anything from DC?
Yeah, I'll be getting that Plastic Man because he was one of my favorite characters when I was a kid, so I'm happy to see anything come out from him. But the only other thing I have, which it's 2 books, but Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween 0, which is a prelude to the Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, and then Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween #1. In 1996, writer Jeff Loeb and artist Tim Sale teamed up for Batman The Long Halloween, an award-winning 13-chapter saga that spawned multiple sequels and stands as its most influential Batman story of its era. Now Loeb returns to the world of The Long Halloween for its long-anticipated final act. In issue 1, Gotham City learns to fear Halloween once more as a terrible event threatens to destroy Jim Gordon's life and puts Batman and Robin's teamwork to the test more than ever before in a city of liars, masked vigilantes, and criminals. Can anyone be trusted? Yeah, I'll be picking those up to go with my 13 other issues. So
And speaking of DC in September, because Batman Day is celebrated in September, so they have a lot of stuff that is either being reprinted for Batman Day and a couple specials here or there. I have one to talk about later, but jump over to Katie. Anything from DC?
Yes. So tentatively, I was interested in the Batman the Barbarian book. That looked fun, good sword and sorcery setting. Other than that, I'm open to a club pick, but I don't have anything else from DC right now. Although Batman Day frequently falls on my birthday, so maybe I should prepare in advance this year and read some Batman to get ready for that. So yeah, buy everything Batman from DC, but nothing else from me.
That's right. I think we celebrated one time at the
Yeah.
store where we said it's Batman Day as well as Katie's birthday days too.
Yep.
Is anybody reading the Batman Gaslight Kryptonian Age? I almost picked that one up. It's I think a continuation of the Gaslight P. Craig Russell series.
Yeah, I wonder if so. Jim is our resident Batman fan, and some
Okay.
curious to see if that's one that he had checked out or not or talked about. But
Okay.
cool.
I just want to do a quick jump back to Marvel. I totally forgot I wanted to mention it to Katie in case she didn't see it. But they do have Star Wars issue 50 for the finalization of the Star Wars story, and then Darth Vader fish 50 for the finalization of that storyline too. So,
That's
usually
true.
they
No.
a finalization.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Well,
getting,
thank you. I appreciate you pointing that out.
yeah, I've been getting Star Wars. I'm behind on that, so I got to do a massive catch up. But yeah, I've got that on pre-order there. And trying to think here where the lineup. I think we're back to me. So for Batman Day 2024, they have a couple reprintings. What I assume because they have Batman Elmer Fudd special now. Back in so maybe 2017, 2018, they did a bunch of Looney Tunes stuff that was so good over at DC Comics. And so I know it's 100% a reprint. But the thing that I question, I only have my online info, I didn't have the physical catalog. They have a Batman Elmer Fudd special noir for Batman Day. I'm going to assume it's just a black and white edition of that original comic. I don't assume that they all went back to the well and did another one, but I have the original Elmer Fudd one. I've got it signed by Tom King, and I think I have the artist sign that one as well, but Lee Weeks. But there's a noir edition for Batman Day, so just what I would guess, it's probably just a reprint but in black and white. But I'm gonna get it anyways because I think that would be a cool little story to revisit. Then I don't have to open up my double signed copy. So, but yeah, so Batman Day 2024, Batman Elmer Fudd, very very awesome stories. Anything else from DC, Kirby?
Nope.
Then Katie, and then everyone else. I think we're all good with DC. All right, and then just because you guys didn't have one, let's go jump over to the independent catalog. And Kirby, if you want to kick us off on that round for
Sure.
anyone in the independent catalogs, and this is me talking to buy you a little time. We're ready to go.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Usagi Yojimbo #1.
Yeah.
During a routine Rita Repulsa attack, the Rangers Morphers do something unexpected. Send them back to Edo era Japan. Using the Morphin's grid's powers, the mysterious Ogasawara pulls the Rangers through time and begs for help. But when the enemy they face isn't what they expect, our heroes will face a painful revelation. Now, this is because of the 40th anniversary for Usagi Yojimbo, so I'm glad I haven't read much Power Rangers stuff, but I will be reading this one.
Yeah, that one's on my list as well, and I chose the Stan Sakai variant cover because it's kind of cool to see him draw the Power Rangers. So that's
I always get the Stan Sakai cover.
cool. Jump over to Katie. Anything from the Independents?
Sure. So over at Image Comics, we are getting a new Lady Mechanica miniseries. I love this series of books. They are done by Joe Benitez, and I think he often crowdfunds or self-publishes some of them, and a few years moved over to Image, so they have the publishing rights for these and have been reissuing them. Oh my gosh. I can't speak right now. It's so silly. But this is such a gorgeous book. Like, I think this entire series probably ties with Monstrous. Just a book that is so visually intricate and beautiful and finely detailed, which is, why it takes like 2 years in between series for a new one to come out. I am really looking forward to this. Lady Mechanica, once again, is trying to escape disturbing revelation of her past by running off to Siberia on a dangerous hunt for an alleged dragon living in the depths of an ancient lake. So pretty on brand for the series. It's going to be $3.99. It's one of 4, and it will be in shops on September 4th. I'm sure with a trade coming soon from Image Comics by Joe Benitez, M.M. Gann, Sia Oam, and Joe Benitez again on the covers. Looking forward to it, and I think you should check it out.
I can second that. On the art for that series is amazing. I read up all the way through. I think it's De La Muerta.
Oh, sure.
That one. So incredible. Wow. Stories
yeah.
too.
I can third that one. I've since Sangra, I've basically always had Lady Mechanica on my pull list as well as back purchased a lot of the original because I also really like the art, and just the steampunk world it's in is just it's built masterfully. I want to see what Siberia looks like now. Yeah. So
ooh, yeah. No, agreed with everything you both said. Love it. 10 out of 10.
Maybe they'll run into Deadpool and Wolverine in Siberia.
Oh yeah.
No,
or maybe someone will hop along and dazzle them.
Hey.
Let's jump over. I'm trying to figure out where the heck we are now. Eric, anything from the independent stuff?
All right. Well, aside from Lady Mechanica, there's a series, it looks interesting, from Boom called Minor Arcana. Right up is Teresa, the daughter of a small town psychic fraud, returns home to care for her ailing mother, however begrudgingly. But when Teresa discovers that there may be more to the magic than she originally believed, she'll find herself caught up in a town that desperately needs her help. So it's going to be, I guess, it's being written by Jeff Lemire. I'm probably ruining his name. But yeah, Jeff Lemire, who's written for Descender and Black Hammer, and I guess Boom has acquired him for this one. So, I usually like the small town stories from the indie comics. Though I don't know how much longer we'll be able to call Boom indie because Random House has just acquired them.
Right. Yes.
Oh.
I'm hoping that considering like the success that it's had with many series, like Something is Killing the Children and Met Cadets, that maybe they'll just tell Boom, keep doing what you're doing. We'll leave you alone. Please.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Assume that they just kind of keep their business, let them do it because Boom's got a lot of good stuff going on. And this is on my list too because Jeff Lemire not only writes it but he draws it as well, and whenever he does both of the chores, that's an instant book for me. Financially, you can't buy everything Jeff Lemire writes because he writes so much stuff. If he's not writing and drawing for himself, he's writing, 8 other titles and all, he's doing so much stuff. But, his stuff with Sweet Tooth and I love his work with Royal City, which is my favorite thing he's done. Anytime I get Jeff Lemire writing and drawing, it's a book for me. Fish Flies is the most recent one that's out there. But yep, so Minor Arcana is on my list as well. Kevin Wolf, did you have any independent picks at all?
Yeah. Do you guys, for independent, do you guys consider creator-owned stuff, or is it?
Yep. Anything that's not Marvel or DC, basically.
Okay. Yeah, you guys know that I'm into these 2 titles, so Armored, I'll continue for sure on that one. And then Grommets. Two other ones. This is Seamus and Gumshoe. These are available on Amazon. The author artist is out of England, as far as I know. Illustrator Jones, he goes by on the internet. So these have been really fun. He's working on the third one right now. And then the last one, and I think some of you guys may know him. I follow him on Instagram, is Nuke Rooster, Jevlin Loop or Lop, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jevin Loop.
Jevin Loop. So he actually lives where I grew up in Southern California. So I'm open to someday meet him. And I think he's crowdfunding number 3 right now.
So unfortunately, number 3 didn't meet its Kickstarter goal. But
Oh, really?
that's not going to stop him from making comics, because I know he's going to, find other ways to do it, if not launching a new campaign or doing other things. But yeah, unfortunately, that one did not get successful. But we talked about Nuke Rooster a couple times on here. I brought that to the table, and I've got some art from him. Jevin's awesome. He's eventually
Okay, yeah.
out for him for Cartoonist by Night. But yeah, anyways.
Oh, I didn't know that about the not funding. I've always bought it after the campaign's over, just to make sure there's a product. But hopefully he'll put it out at some point. So
Yeah, I didn't know about him until I had met Troy, and then Troy had known him, and then
okay.
that's where our paths started to cross. And then yeah, so I never was there for an active campaign until the third one, so I was getting all ready for it, and I was kind of bummed. But
Yeah, they're fun. I think he's working on another title he hasn't announced yet too. So it's, from what I know, fairly soon he's going to say something about it.
from the little that I know of him, I know that won't stop him from making more stuff. So we'll
Yeah.
get more Nuke Rooster one way or another. So
Yeah.
and then jumping over to me again, I jumped off of Something is Killing the Children at like issue maybe 35 or 4 or something, just because I kept falling behind. Been doing a lot of different stuff creatively over the last year or two, but this is an issue number 0, an untold story for Erica Slaughter. So it's diving into a one shot prequel to Something's Killing the Children. So I'm definitely going to jump in for that, because I don't need to be caught up for it, and that'll probably just reignite my enthusiasm to catch myself up on there and jump back on with the series. If you've never read it, it's a very popular series from James Tynion the Fourth, and there's a #1 archive edition that comes out in the catalog too. I didn't read it just because I have the #1 signed by him in person. But I am assuming it's a reprinting and just still getting people to check it out. So if you're behind and you want to see what all the hubbub is about, you can get a reprint of issue #1 as well in September. Kirby?
Speaking of James Tynion the Fourth, we got the oddly pedestrian life of Christopher Chaos, Halloween special one shot. A very special Halloween celebration with Christopher Chaos's best friends and fiercest foes. James Tynion and Isaac Goodhart tell a story of family and loss with Adam Frankenstein and Viveka. Tate Bramball and Phil Jimenez introduce a wild new monster far above the Arctic Circle. And back in Briar City, Bramball is joined by Jeff Lemire for a sweet and spooky story of young Christopher during a Halloween long past. And finally, the brilliant Sue Lee and Nick Robles each write and draw their own bewitching stories that will leave you breathless and terrified for All Hallows Eve. So I got to get a few things for Halloween, but they didn't have as many in the catalog as I was hoping for this month again.
Cool. Katie?
I was also interested in Minor Arcana. I with that's what caught my eye, although none of them I know of. But everything I've ever read by Jeff Lemire has been excellent, so I'm interested in that as well.
Okay, well, normally, some months we go by and we don't have any club nominations, and we've got a couple this time around. So with myself, Eric, and Katie, we can go ahead and do that one as well. A lot of times we don't. We tend to do more Marvel and DC just based on the structure of the miniseries and stuff like that. But let me just make a note of that too, to just mention that for the club, so I don't forget to tell everybody. So yeah, let's go ahead with that as well. Let's see here. So that was Katie. Eric, anything else from Mindy's?
Yes, another one, another one from Boom. Firefly, Malcolm Reynolds, year one. Basically seems to be like a prequel to Firefly. You know, basically shows what he was doing before. Oh, look, it's on your list too. That's surprising. I never knew you liked Firefly. But yeah, so I mean, I like what Boom has done with Firefly. They're able to actually they've expanded on it as well as embraced the other comic stuff that came before it as canon. So yeah, every property that I've seen Boom touch has been very good with Firefly, Buffy, Power Rangers. So
Agreed.
I definitely want to see Malcolm Reynolds, and I kind of have a prediction that you might see a more religious side of him, because I remember in the pilot you see him kiss a cross, and then any mention to God or whatever, he just completely poo-poos it. So I'm wondering if maybe this one will actually show how he may have had he may before the loss at Serenity Valley, he may have actually still been somewhat religious. I'd like to see that part about his character, because I have a feeling that before the loss of the brown coats lost to the Alliance, he might have been a completely different person. So
yeah, and throughout the series and the movie, you've seen his relationship with Shepherd Book and stuff. And I think it was early on, it might have been the pilot as well, as maybe Shepherd wanting to ask if he could say a prayer or something. And I think if the captain minded, and I think Mal said something along like only if it's out loud or something.
no, basically, I remember him saying, "You're welcome on my vessel, Shepherd. God is not."
Yeah. But yeah,
I don't know why I remember quotes like that. Then
okay.
I said, "Bells, why don't you can remember that, but you can't remember to get your clothes off the floor."
Good stuff. Anything else, Kevin Wolf, just so I don't skip you or anything?
Just the last thing I can think of for September, and you guys all probably know about this, is I think it's September. Flash Gordon, Art Baltazar.
I think it might be November, but we're not going to turn down an
Oh,
early, yeah. We're not going
is
to
it
turn
later?
down an
Okay.
early reminder. I'm pretty sure it's November
Okay. It's coming up.
because it's Art and Franco. We're going to allow it. So
Yeah, can't be soon enough, right?
this one caught my attention because I didn't even know that there was a 2020 game that came out. But I've been video game retired unless it's Mario Kart. But this is the graphic novel prequel to the 2020 Battletoads video game. Dive back into the badass world of Battletoads with the Lost Adventure as Pimple, Rash, and Zitz face a horde of powerful opponents. The Toadlier trio participate in the Grand Festival, a battle royale with gathered the strongest fighters in the universe. But a secret plot looms in the sewers of the celebration. Will the Toads prevail, or will their bond be tested by an out of this world brawl? This made me, I have to do research, but maybe Kirby knows. Has there ever been Battletoads comic books before? Have you ever come across that?
I've never seen any, so I was excited when they showed this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Paperback, $14, 80 pages, 3 issues. It says it's collecting 3 issues, so you would assume that it came out individually. Maybe we just missed it during the pandemic, years and stuff, or it's just was created individually, and then they're like, yeah, let's do it as a paperback. But
It should have at least been a crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something.
Yeah, you think. But yeah, I don't know. Battletoads, I love those video games, and I'm excited to see if there was any old comic books as well. So Battletoads, The Lost Adventure from Titan Comics. Kirby?
Usagi Yojimbo, White Star Rising. Space Usagi, White Star Rising. Taking place directly after the Space Usagi Death and Honor arc, Stan Sakai's second Space Usagi series sees Miyamoto Usagi continuing to defend in Shirahoshi clan in the far future, from scheming rivals. The Caggiatori, or from the scheming rivals, the Caggiatori. New friends like Space Pirate Rogan and new enemies led by Empress Amata are introduced, and this miniseries will be newly colored by longtime collaborator Emi Fuji. So yeah, more Usagi.
Cool. Katie?
Nothing else for me from the Independents.
There does look like there's a former Battletoad comic.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to
I would guess 90s, but I don't know.
I'll have to do some back issue diving and see if I can find something. Eric?
Yeah, that's pretty much all my stuff for the Independents too.
Okay, then jumping over, so we talked about Daniel Warren Johnson in the last segment. The Moon is Following Us, #1. Writer is Daniel Warren Johnson. Writer is Riley Rossmo. Awesome choice there. Riley Rossmo and Jorge Corona, both are people that I think Scotty Young has worked with his independent stuff, and is excited to see their names attached now with Daniel Warren Johnson here. So, series premiere: Sam and Duncan Lamara love their 6-year-old daughter Penny more than anything in the world, whole world rather. But half a year ago, she was taken by the Cascade, an evil force they barely understand. Now Sam and Duncan must fight side by side with the magical beings Penny cherished to try and get her back before she's gone forever. It's Daniel Warren Johnson. It's Riley Rossmo. I am checking that out. That is from Image Comics. The Moon is Following Us. Kirby?
That one also, if I can interrupt, that one's on my pull list, and on Daniel Warren Johnson's YouTube page, there's a special cover, and Kirby, you might be interested in this. It's a sketch cover, so a typical white one, but there's a moon and an image, and then there's a big blank spot, and you can only purchase that sketch cover through what's the art where he sells his original art page, Felix Art or something like that.
Felix Comic Art.
Yeah, so it's for that title, and then he's going to do sketches on that top part of the blank sketch image. So
We'll do like remarks or something, or probably.
yeah, it looked fun. It looked cool.
That's
Awesome.
a cool idea. Kirby?
Black, White, and Bloodshot, sticking with the black and white themes. Enter the world of Bloodshot in this brand new book, or in this brand new Black, White, and Blood anthology. Meet Bloodshot, the world's deadliest assassin. A super soldier engineered with nanites, a versatile nanotechnology that allows Bloodshot to repair the damage inflicted on his body, change his appearance, and control machines. In this first issue, Bloodshot is put to the limit when scientists try to farm never-ending meat from his self-repairing body to stop hunger in the world. Experience Bloodshot's feelings as he confronts his demons in a deadly mission in the desert. And what will happen when a serial killer interrupts his favorite new movie at the theater? Then, for the first time, the crossover nobody was asking for. It's Bloodshot versus Mickey M. But yeah, I mean, with Wolverine and Bloodshot, I think we can solve the hunger crisis.
And just to remind myself, Katie, you said you were done as well?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so we'll ping pong back and forth between me and Kirby to finish this out. Over at Bloomsbury, My Vampire versus Your Werewolf graphic novel by Paul Tobin. Gabe and Hayden have a vampire. June and Trad have a werewolf, and they're going to fight. After modern society pushed monsters into hiding, the Crafters Guild was formed, an organization of humans and other creatures intent on fostering community amongst these exiled beings and combating the decline in monster mental health. Their solution? A no-holds-barred clash of the titans, where two monsters can fight it out with no limits. With young coaches to guide them, the monsters must prepare for a battle that will test their strengths, smarts, and special abilities. But it's just a friendly competition. Nothing could possibly go wrong, right? But a book called My Vampire versus Your Werewolf? I'll buy that. Kirby?
We got TB and her time-traveling psychedelic mushrooms #1. It's a one-shot. Botanical genius creates cosmically funky fungi. We be time tripping now. TB is a fan of psychedelic mushrooms who puts her advanced degrees in botany and chemistry to good use by creating her own new strain of funny fungus. Enjoy her first time-traveling romp of a trip in this fantastic first issue. Time travel, dinosaurs, and bubble baths await. I'm not a time traveling fan, but you throw psychedelic mushrooms in anything, I'm jumping on it.
Yeah, I saw that and I knew that would be on your list. Goosebumps Graphics Volume 1, the Haunted Mask graphic novel. R.L. Stein and Maddie Gonzalez. Goosebumps now on Disney Plus. Carly Beth needs the perfect Halloween mask. That was just a plug, just to be like, yep, there's new Goosebumps. Okay, Carly Beth needs the perfect Halloween mask, one that will scare everyone she comes across, including her annoying little brother and the bullies from her school. A visit to a strange costume store provides just the right one. An ugly green with fierce fangs, and the mask makes Carly Beth feel powerful and scary. But when the mask won't come off, will the monster take over? If I'm not mistaken, that sounds much like the original prose version of the book. And looks like they're doing graphic novel translations of them. I am all in on that. At the beginning of the year, I bought a whole bunch of Goosebumps. It's one thing that I read all of those books, probably through like 60 or 70 of the original run, however many went in that first long stretch. Sadly, none of those copies stayed in my collection growing up, but I wanted them back, so I bought some copies, and my intention was to revisit those books. So I still got to do that, but now I see graphic novel versions too. So I'm just gonna have to do both of them. So yeah, I hope they continue to do more of them. They offer softcover and hardcover options. That's Goosebumps Graphics Volume 1, The Haunted Mask. Kirby?
I got Wicked Witches #1. There's various artists and writers in this one. Be enchanted by our bewitching beauties this Halloween. Treat yourself to a tasty pinup collection of salacious sorceresses that'll have you spellbound. Antarctic's core creators Brian Denham, Ben Dunn, Fred Perry, Kelsey Shannon, and David Hutchinson, and more bring you a colorful coven of casting cuties, plus a bonus short story full of magic with the first appearance of Ben Dunn's new bad girl, Kendra. And I've been following a bunch of pods with Ben live and stuff, and following some other stuff with him, and he's been showing a few new characters he's been playing with. This is one of the first ones that's coming out, so I got to get the book just because of that. So anything Ben Dunn.
Cool. I'm bringing this one up to the club because just in case Kirby saw this in the catalog and just said, "Oh, I can't let Shelly know about this," I'm going to make sure she knows about it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep, the Rocky Horror Cookbook. There's a hardcover of the Rocky Horror Picture Show Cookbook that's coming out. $27, 136 pages. I didn't read the synopsis, but just imagine a bunch of fun food and Rocky Horror themed. So I'm just throwing that out there in case Shelly did not hear that at all. So
yeah, I will definitely be getting that for her for a present or something. All right, we got She Trick or Treat mystery comic one shot. Celebrate Halloween with this special bagged and boarded mystery comic hidden behind a beautifully ghostly sheet cover sheet. The Crusade Comics crypt has been opened, revealing many She classics, including 1994's original first printing of She #1s, to rarities like the Eisner-nominated Caden, and ultra-limited metal editions covered by greats George Perez, Amanda Connor, and more. But yeah, it's just some special She thing. I don't know what comic I'll get out of it, but anything She that comes back, I gotta pick up. So.
Cool. The last one I have on my list, I got some other ones, but I just picking some of the favorites I want to mention. This one caught my attention way back on the catalog on page 435. The publisher is Scout Comics. Mitch, #1, the Nonstop Edition by Maxim Simic. Fans of Hellboy and Howard the Duck, just looking at Kirby real quick to see. Fans of Hellboy and Howard the Duck will love this amazing comic series. Mitch mixes comedy, science fiction, and urban fantasy with character Mitch as the anthropomorphic lead, juxtaposed to seemingly realistic world of the late 90s. It's chunky Roger Rabbit with a bad temper meets Indiana Jones set in a Sam Raimi-esque cityscape. It's a story about one furry guy on a quest to find his... I should have looked at Eric when I said furry guy. It's a literal guy that has fur. Going back to it here, furry guy on a quest to find his true origins, unintentionally stumbling into adventure, mystery, and a secret ongoing extraterrestrial conflict over Earth and its unsuspecting occupants. Enjoy this world premiere first issue of this non-stop series, followed by the entire story collected soon after in one volume. That's right, Scout does that, where they drop in issue 1, and then you go ahead and you can buy the trade paperback. So an interesting marketing technique. And yeah, I saw the art on this, the title, the recommendations of Hellboy and Howard fans, but I have a feeling I'm going to really enjoy Mitch. So I'm going to pick that up from Scout Comics. Anything else to finish it off, Kirby?
Sure, this is a bad month for me. I'm trying to shrink it down, but October come outs are always the worst because of Halloween. But we got Flash Gordon Quarterly. I wanted to pick up something Flash Gordon-y. The Fall of King Bolton expands upon Mad Cave Studios' Flash Gordon ongoing series with a father and son tale that brings deadly mercenaries to Sky City. It's fight or flight in more ways than one. This issue also features 2 Flash fiction stories. Wholly original tales take on the classic character and his companions. Flash Gordon and the Madness of Ming is the first in the series of horror-themed shorts that would make Lovecraft proud. Another tale provides an interpretation in a genre you never would have guessed. Let's see here. Jumping over this one. I think Anthony might be interested in this. It's only a $5 retail, but it's Henry and Glenn. We got everyone's favorite aging punk odd couple lights up the page once more in the first all-new Henry and Glenn floppy comic in a decade. Inside, you'll find I Don't Want to Be Buried, the first chapter of a brand new stories written and drawn by Tom Neely. Our squabbling, loving heroes have adopted a new cat they named Iggy. Iggy and Henry become best friends, but Glenn has a lot of trouble connecting with the new kitty. Also, Henry gets cast in a new movie directed by John Twatters, so Glenn gets left home alone with Iggy, and it does not go well. You'll also find a retrospective of Henry and Glenn lore, collectibles, and comic shorts, True Tale of Henry and Glenn, featuring the time Tom sat on a plane next to the drummer for Samhain, plus a cameo from Henry and Glenn's neighbors, Daryl and John, and some spicy new pinups, including a back cover pinup by Justin Hall. I don't know, I figured because it's got that Peanuts cover type thing. I don't know. Never heard of them before. So.
I just looked it up when you had mentioned that. I haven't heard of it either, but I saw that Peanuts thing, so I'm like, okay, that I could see, you know. But yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, since it's a one shot, I figure I might check it out. And I don't know if this is running off. Well, no, I'm not even gonna mention that. Well, I'll give it the thing out, but the Grinch Takes Vacation. I don't know if this is the next person that's in line after Art Baltazar's or what.
Yep, that's the next person. Yep.
Okay. And then where were we? 429.
They should make a Grinch movie every year for Christmas. I don't know why they don't.
Anthony mentioned that. That's the Rocky Horror one. Just a couple more if I can find them. We got 20 degrees past rigor. #1. This is going to be a 3-issue series. The Philadelphia universe expands, which Philadelphia was all based on the vampires. A zombie outbreak hits the city of Flint, Michigan. Only its residents won't take it lightly. So I'm thinking about checking that out for 3 issues. And then you got Werewolf Frankenstein Special Edition one-shot. Frankenstein's monster is already plagued with loneliness and immortality. Now the horror of his existence is compounded with a new curse. Time is running out as the lycanthropy slowly spreads from limb to limb, organ to organ, until it eventually infects his brain and his meager humanity is lost forever. Can he find a cure in time? For fans of Universal Monsters, Disney Gargoyles, and the Hulk. It's 455. Let's see. Yeah, that's the last one. Cool.
Okay, so that was an extra size Crimson Cowl Comic Club with lots of goodness. So we'll speed through some of these plugs. Most of the stuff is repetitive, but here we go. If this is the first time you're watching, crimsoncowl.com. Go there for info and original webcomics. Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on iTunes for the audio version. Please subscribe, rate, and review to help the show grow and reach more people. Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube. I think that's the full experience. Putting some, going with the video and the little intros and all that fun stuff over there. So Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube, which that YouTube page, by the way, includes some exclusive stuff that never got to the audio feed. So that's a good reason to subscribe. Kirby has a spin-off podcast under the Call of MS. If you like the people, like to let to know the people, you know what to do. I'm gonna
plenty of previews, reviews, all kinds of things, unpackings and stuff like that. And by the time this episode comes out, I'll probably have all my previews episodes out there too. There should be probably 6 of them. So going over all the individuals.
Yeah, because we can barely scratch the surface when we go through and highlight our stuff. Kirby goes through the catalog as well, but it's always an awesome experience to pick up the catalogs and support your shops. All right, let's see here. I have Facebook and Instagram art accounts. Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch. Haven't been posting too much, but I got some fun things coming down the line pretty soon. And then I have the Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. Jamie Cosley is the recent episode that just dropped. We have, I think, 25 episodes now. Lots of fun stuff. Got a lot of exciting guests on the horizon, including the famous cartoonist Art Baltazar. Our schedules haven't aligned too well over the last year. He's been hunkering. He's been meeting deadlines. He's been drawing awesome comics. What did he say? He had like 100 pages he drew in a month, I think is the thing that he's been recently saying. So he's been doing a lot of stuff, but we are going to be sitting down and drawing and talking over on Cartoonist by Night. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And then Kevin Wolf, once again, thank you for joining us for another edition of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Is there anything you would like to plug to let people know about what you do?
Well, I have my normal stuff that's already out. You guys have seen it. I just finished coloring Vamp and Kermuffin, and then To Fight a Hessian, the comic, and the prose version. I'm working on a story called Coldfinger that I'm hoping to have out in the winter. That'll be a comic also. A little bit, if you know the German term Ravensmutter, a raven's mother, it has to do with that. A little tinge of Beowulf in there, a little tinge of Grimm fairy tales, and a little bit of like, what's the name? Who's Mr. Mean, the puppet Christmas tales? Mr. Winter, Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. Mr. Miser, Ice Miser? Or no?
Yeah, Bass and I forget. Anyways, the people that made them has a little bit of that in there. So that'll be a fun story. And then I'm working on the other one. Instead of To Fight a Hessian, it's To Fight a Surfer. Told from Eddie's point of view. This is Eddie. He's the heavy metal guy. And that one will not be for kids. There's going to be some cursing and some. It's not going to be fully adult, but it's not a clean, squeaky clean comic. So. And the California Kids stuff. So plenty of things going around. You can look me up, Happy Wolf Art on YouTube or on Instagram. So
Cool. And were you thinking about Rankin and Bass? Is that what you were going for?
yeah, Rankin and Bass. Yep.
All right, that is going to do it for an episode of Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Thank you for checking it out. Please subscribe, tell a friend, like, and write and review, and all of that fun stuff. It's been a good time. We'll see you at the next episode. This whole time, I've been watering my poots.
I've been starting a cult with lambs, wolverines, and turtles.
I've been unordinary.
Oh, he's been without his volume on.
And I've been glad it's not 110 degrees anymore here. So
One more take 2 for Eric.
And I've been transporting mentally unstable superheroes with my mouth.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Thank you, Slimer.